you know, you give this composition to, you know, a mid-level solo queue team, and you know, and they're going to do great with it, right? You don't even have to be that coordinated to pull this one off. It's a pretty easy comp to execute, and DRX feel like they've really just picked lowest common denominator across the board. And
yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how they both kind of went ahead and pick these compositions that are like, okay, we all press our buttons all at the same time. You know, which is the one champion that really loves all of this, I think, the most is Seth. You know, whether it's Hanwha Life that are engaging onto him and he's soaking and he makes everybody 5 in a row because they're all going to be diving on in eventually, or it's, you know, they're engaging and he's the one getting a huge showstopper with the Diana follow-up.
You don't have the range to front to back with this Kai'Sa. You can toss in the equalizer, right? And you then what do you do? Like, after everybody takes like about 1/10 of their health, maybe, you know, 1/8 of their health, something like that, when the equalizer comes down, depending on how Arthur does in this game, then your engage is very risky because there's so many ways to lock you down as soon as you decide to go in. The paranoia starts things off, but then what if you get caught by any of the lockdown that's here? Even the Fate's Call that you can use to peel. It's pretty insane what Becca will be able to do when he wants to actually dictate the pace of fights. The opportunities to engage and do consistent damage and hit that CC is way easier for DRX than it is to play against on the side of Hanwha Life Esports. They could still win this game, but it is going to be an uphill battle, and they're going to have to play it basically perfectly.
Yep. So here we go, guys. Game number 1 will start right now. Hanwha Life Esports up against DRX. Hitting the Rift for the first time. You mentioned how this will probably be another 6-game day. We had a long one yesterday. And I would say there's a pretty good chance in this one, especially with the later matchup being Afrika versus Liv Sandbox. Should be a pretty even and fun one.
Yeah.
I would expect that here as well.
You know, I mean, because both of these teams are on the lower side of the bracket, it seems kind of uninteresting somehow, you know, for the most hardcore of the hardcore fans who want to watch the highest level play, but we know what these teams are capable of, especially if we consider these rosters are not changed from last season, and they both did very well, and DRX was even hovering in top 4 for a lot of the early part of spring. When you consider also that sometimes when teams like this are not doing well at the beginning of a season, they don't have great understanding of the meta, it can lead to messy games, and that's always very entertaining too.
We have mirrored runes here.
Yep.
All 10 major runes, 5 and 5, they're exactly the same. Oh boy.
There you go. You gotta go with what's popular.
What is the meta right now? We all press our buttons at the same time and we dive.
Certainly true. And Conqueror is always going to be very good. Well, you know, into the matchup with the set, you know, Chovy is going to be able to clear very easily. You know, sometimes you have to use the Haymaker to actually last hit those minions, which means then you can trade against the set. So the earlier parts of this is definitely going to be pretty fun for Chovy to play, as you can see here.
Mm-hmm. This is a pretty interesting mid matchup because we talked a lot about how the teams, you know, they're very similar in terms of their dire straits, right? But it's where they've been having trouble is also part of the issue. And of course, it's Chovy. I mean, it's one of the best mid laners we have here in Korea. And he's going up against a guy actually for the side of DRX that is struggling a lot in Solka. A guy that was pretty consistent in spring and helped, you know, with the consistency with his control mage play to actually, you know, get them to playoffs and have them have a decent showing in spring. But this time around, this is definitely one of those matchups where if you're a Hanwha Life fan, you're absolutely looking for a bit of a stomp here for Chovy versus Solka.
And so far the early game is going as you would want here, but the scary part becomes when Solka hits 6, and then he's got a Diana to help him out, and the Nocturne is just not going to be able to survive a lot of that if he's trying to be aggressive. He has a Rumble to help him out, but he's so reliant on that fear landing that to actually set up, that's the only CC he has. So a lot of Arthur's attention will actually likely be on the top side of the map, hoping to counter gank something that Pyoshik's trying to set up there. Maybe keeping counter ganking mid, but being the playmaker and actually having agency is not very strong there in the middle lane.
Mist versus Shroud.
Nobody could see anything.
That was a really nice distracted fell, actually. Perfect timing. Denies the combo there.
No, I was very critical of the Alistar pick in terms of what it can do for this composition. It can help peel when that CC and aggression comes through with Pulverize, and it's also, you know, a counter for the lane for the Rel pick. So, I've seen it as a very common response to Rel ever since her release earlier this year, beginning of Season 11. This has not been a great matchup for the Nocturne overall, as you could see in the mid lane.
Yeah, absolutely. That was like going to be the tail end of my point. It's like, well, it's Chovy versus Solka, but it's also Set versus Nocturne.
And it's a Set who's got a Diana to back him up.
Yeah. And, yeah, you mentioned in the draft how this might be a little bit of an issue for Hanwha Life. Definitely this Kaisa pick. It is depth after all, and he is kind of carrying the team at the moment, so we'll see if we can trust him here. Nice flash response from Becca. He will avoid any pressure that does come in.
Yep, and he's got Hex Flash, so it's not like the worst possible scenario for him to lose that. As you can see with how some of these trades go, like Set's very happy to actually just walk forward and take this damage because he heals it up passively pretty quickly. They're both just going to go ahead and buy. Kind of a gentleman's agreement recall here. Oh, however,
Chovy went in there and stopped the back. He's like, I can back, but you're not allowed.
Ever the gentleman in lane. So now they're going to have to both clear this wave one more time, which does favor Chovy, so he actually gets a slight advantage because it's really difficult for Solka to actually deny his back, so that's how it's going to go. Some pings, but you know, no one's going to be able to go over there and mess with this backing set. Low Rumble, actually, as I say it. This keeps happening.
He's not able to get him, actually. Probably didn't see him over the wall, and he's just over there clearing the ward, which is pinged out about 5 or 6 times by DRX. Piosik now trying to pull off his own version of the gank we saw down here on the bottom side.
This is where things really start to evolve for these two teams around the first objective. With level 6s up for both mid laners, they are, you know, some of the most impactful ultimates for both teams, especially in terms of those early skirmishes. Set going to be able to, you know, transverse the team fight or isolate a single target, whereas Paranoia is going to be able to turn the lights out and engage from a really long range. So with this bot prio too, that continues to be an issue. I wonder if Hanwha Life Esports will even really be able to contest this first objective, even though they have the Paranoia to get in there. It's going to be really tough with Kaisa just at this stage being not very powerful, really easy to pick off. And Kalista wins the early game in almost every scenario, even when you have the Alistar counterpick to the Rel. It's just really hard to get prio on this first objective right now, unless you get a pick.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, Solka has flash here. The fear is going to land, and they're going to try to burst him down before any Haymaker saves him. But it will just be the flash coming out to save him at the end of the day. Equalizer comes in, and the follow-up is big as First Blood will go the way of Chovy. Just wait until Set uses everything, and then you can kill him.
Yeah, don't think he could have even flashed the fear there, so, I mean, there's not much he could do. He has the Haymaker, flashes right away. But the Paranoia allows the chase to come through. That's a lot of damage at this stage of the game. If you can connect that fear, Rumble will be able to get a pick. Goshik gonna come over here.
Yeah, but with Chovy around, not gonna go in on that one. As we will have an engage down here. Really nice Pulverize getting in onto Bao. There's the follow-up stun, and Bao has no hope of getting out of there. Doesn't even flash. As now Becca on the slow walk away from this one, being on the realm. We'll get back on the horse, but it's not going to matter. No flash available for Becca. That is a straight-up duo kill, 2 for 0 in the bottom lane.
Yeah, really impressive stuff here. Nice setup from Vista. And when you get a kill like this, you really open up everything. So fear does connect, right? And by that point, yeah, you can Haymaker and then flash away. You're safe until the Paranoia comes through.
Solka has to be running away out of vision. Otherwise, he always dies.
Yep. And the Equalizer kind of blocked him from taking the safer path there. So, Brock's in a rock in a hard place. This was just a really nice answer here from Vista to an overextension from Bao. Easily cleans him up there, and there's not much Becca can do. He went for the crash down, but it's not going to save anybody. Ends up being a double kill here in the bottom lane, and this is a lot of extra gold going over to a composition that will struggle in the early parts of these skirmishes in terms of the CC that DRX have. But when you have this lead and you get this extra prio, you know, in lanes, even if it's only temporary, it does help you group. Now, DRX actually do send all of their resources down to the Dragon right now. or they were.
Yeah, they were. Now they're going up actually to the Rift Heralds here as we're trying to get on top of Solka. No flash for him. Equalizer again. Haymaker here, but this is just no hope for Solka. Totally caught out. Way too far down the lane, just expecting his allies to help out a little bit too much, as now the Rumble will be comboed, and Pyosik just says, okay, thank you, Becca, for your service, but I'll get out, and you will not.
I mean, Hanwha Esports is making this game look like it is not a matchup between the two bottom teams right now in the LCK. Hanwha look like they might be on the level that we would have expected them to be here after the spring season. With how easy this early game has gone, they are crushing it. The rotations are better. Their understanding of the macro is better.
All right, let's see it. Maybe Kingen can get something back. Trying to trade it in here. Gets the Shroud up once again. Pyosik looking to get down the lane. You can see he does not commit to the second part of his ultimate. He didn't want to get under that turret and potentially die.
Yeah, if he gets under the turret and gets stunned, then it's a traded kill at best for him. He might actually end up dying. The sustain for Viego is just insane.
Bao died again, by the way.
Yeah, we didn't actually see this on camera, but Deft's just, you know, killer instinct living up to its name here. One of our most veteran AD carry players. As Solka is in no man's land here, looking for this kind of exchange. It's a really nice pulverize again from Vista. He's had two fantastic ones this early into the game. Imagine what it's going to look like later on. And yeah, they do get a trade back here onto Arthur, but 100% worth it because Becca has no way of getting out of here. And now, I mean, this early game is just completely under the control of Hanwha Esports. They should be able to make a play for both objectives here.
Yeah, you would imagine. I mean, they have vision control everywhere. And I don't know, maybe Solka's been listening too much to the global broadcast because he thinks that apparently Set is invulnerable. And he's playing like it a little bit, you know? But when you expect some support from your teammates and you have two extra teammates with you in the lane, it does give you that extra confidence to say, oh, okay, I can push up, I am Set. Maybe we can even make something happen. But I think he's underestimating the amount of consistent follow-up with the Nocturne and Rumble. You're never getting away with that. And then with Alistair there too, you're just CC'd for the entire time without flash, so.
Yeah, the composition of DRX doesn't skirmish when it's not grouped, right? Like, you can win these fights like I was talking about with all the CC, but when it's linked together and everybody is on the same page, if you're actually kind of littered across the map, trickling through the river, then that's when Hanwha Life is going to crush you. When you're isolated, that's where you're at your weakest against the composition that Hanwha Life is running. You have to stay grouped if you're going to look for fights like that, or even exchanges, you know? Because, I mean, like you said, the chase is insane.
Yeah. Another fight up here in the top side, looking for that potential ult once again, but it's just used to trade. And Dudu is mostly okay with this because he's not dying.
Yeah.
Able to sustain back up. As long as that is the case, he will be totally fine.
It's crazy how many champions that don't have monobars can actually just heal themselves up and stay in the lane.
Aatrox.
Yeah.
Renekton?
Wasn't going to name all of them. I was just going to, you know, say there's a few of those, you know, that are pretty popular.
Shuriken's down. I think he's in a bit of trouble as the ultimate comes out here. He will be forced to flash. Kingen, with no flash himself, keep in mind, goes for teleport ignite.
His ignite is so close to coming back online too. They are going to get the Rift Herald down here. Viego survives with teleport, so there's nothing really lost here on the side of Hanwha Esports because he survives.
There we go. This is the possibility when you get Nocturne and Rumble, as nobody's getting away. If you're ahead, you see enemy jungler, you just are able to dive in from the mid lane. You see the enemy mid lane, you can get Rumble to equalizer from far away. It doesn't have to be in perfect position. This is the power of this combo.
Yeah, you can go anywhere, you could chase anything down because you have just such insanely long range. So anyone who's isolated is never really safe when these items start to come online. You know, Gordrink is already ready here for Chovy early on in the game. I think we're going to watch this one more time. Like, Arthur's coming over here to check this because it's the normal path he could want to take at this timing. And there's just simply no way that Pyosik could be here and survive when Paranoia's up. If Paranoia's on cooldown and you know it, then you can actually make that choice. But just really proactive play from Hanwha Esports, punishing Pyosik and just making it impossible for him to farm, right? He finally does, you know, respawn and go get his Krugs, but he's finding himself, you know, struggling to actually make the early game impact that he would have liked to have here on this Diana so they can get fed for the later team fights.
Here we go again. The Shuriken follow-up comes in.
I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, I mean, this is the third time. And Dudu, every single time this happens, he just runs away and says no. And, you know, Akali has insane mobility and insane chase, but at some point, Diego just comes back, he survives, and then he sustains back up.
He actually has almost backed every time, but then hasn't backed because he's like, you know what? I'll just catch this wave and use it to go back to full health. So by the time he uses the wave to go back to full health, he's like, well, I guess I could just stay here. Actually, he's like,
Yeah, and Pioshik's been up there a couple of times too. And every jungler knows you take that extra time to path up to the top lane. You really want to get something out of that. You want to get some kind of value, but both times he's just kind of been up there. Maybe visit the Krugs, but he has not been able to touch Dudu, and that's been a bit of a problem because that presence could have been used elsewhere.
We spent a lot of time talking about how Viego works with poke comps, as I guess this is just going to keep happening. I don't know if I should throw it to you to play-by-play or if he's just going to walk back.
It's okay, King doesn't have his ult yet, so just wait until he has his ult and we'll see the same thing for the fourth time.
Pioshik is coming back up. So yeah, it's like Home Alone was one of those movies that had a bunch of sequels, and then eventually, like at the third or fourth one, you were like, okay, I think we've done enough. Like, this is how I feel about this right now. You know, okay,
Yeah,
I think I've seen enough.
People
of
don't
this.
get sick of Marvel movies, though, so.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. I try to keep my opinion about Marvel movies to myself, but you know.
I guess those aren't exactly straight-up sequels, but they kind
Same
of
universe, you know.
kind of are, yeah.
But yeah.
Fast and the Furious, anyone?
Need for Speed.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones. Oh, those were good though. So.
Game of Thrones Season 8.
Yeah.
Just bring up all the bad fields.
I'm like, what they did to the Star Wars franchise, but. So, this is gonna happen one more time. He misses the Q.
Yeah, but now we're gonna have Kingen going in, and this time there's a rumble. Doesn't seem to matter, but the rocket belt, almost said proto belt there, is going to help pick up the kill, as might have been also the burn from the equalizer. Not sure if he had actually taken that last tick. Either way, the job gets done. Arthur's pretty huge. Obviously, Chovy is gigantic in this game. Pioshik is actually going to get in there. He's making this happen with no equalizer.
2 levels down.
I mean,
there's the paranoia.
Oh, this is, yeah.
That was not the play.
Oh no. Are they going to get a 2-for-1? Well, at least Fate's Call is an ability. And this is really easy for Hanwha Life is what it looks like.
I mean,
you know, this just doesn't seem like a hard matchup for them.
No, it certainly doesn't. And like, I still very strongly feel that DRX has the way better draft for team fights, but if you fall this behind and then you are roaming around the map alone, you know, oftentimes are just 2 against thinking you're 2 versus 1 when there's paranoia available, you're going to pay for it, right? And we've just seen Chovy absolutely crush this early game from his ultimate ability alone, you know. He does fine in the early game on laning, but when left with these isolated targets to kill, it's super easy for him. So yeah, this ends up being a trade. But then Pioshik decides he's going to come up here and challenge 2 levels down when he knows the rest of Hanwha Esports are rotating up. He's just saw them in the mid lane, and he's hoping he can trade this to save the turret, right? But, I mean, it's just not enough. If he has Moonfall there and tries to fight under the turret, like if a few better things were better for him, yeah, I could maybe even imagine the idea that this works out, but I mean, DRX, desperate times call for desperate measures right now because you're not going to come back in this game playing standard and playing defensively anymore. But I think you have to group on objectives. Like maybe look for this Rift Herald fight as 5. Maybe you can get some gold back here.
Yeah. It's, yeah, desperate times for sure because it's about 7,000 gold in 17 minutes. Like this isn't your everyday stomp. This is advanced stomp territory that we're in. And yeah, I mean, they're just going to be able to take every single objective. Dudu's in the side lane. And he, you know, even though every single time the trades happen, it felt like Kingdom was winning them. And in fact, he did technically get the solo kill onto Dudu that one time. He does go down. But still, Dudu was able to stay ahead and farm after all of that. So even though he didn't get the kill onto Kingen, he's fine. He's doing totally fine. And in we go. Chovy trying to ult, turn the lights out, and hope that no follow-up comes in, but he is so massive. He is a gore drinker. Look at this. He's already got Sterix. Like, what? How are you going to try to kill this Nocturne right now? You're never going to be able to.
Oh, and Pioshik, there's no way out of this one, my friend. Dudu's like, should I have taken those stats? I'm not sure. No, it's pretty good to take that at this point, but I mean, it doesn't really matter either way. He's going to use that to actually get a jump over the wall. I don't know if Valdez, like, it's funny because I was going to get into this earlier, but they kept trading, they kept fighting, but something we've talked a lot about how Viego works with poke comps, you know, especially the Varus Rumble we've seen so much, is that he can get those resets and pop off in a team fight, but how he's actually found more success recently, whether it's a poke comp or not, is because he's just nearly impossible to kill in lane. And as a result, you can bait a lot of trades. Now this is Chovy, just like you said. He has Gore Drinker, so he can heal through a lot of this damage, so he does decide to collapse back in. And he goes in here, Gore Drinkers. Now he's got the Sterak shield, so Kingan's like, wait, I actually need to get out of here, but it's too late.
Yeah, Pyosik was already running for like 5 seconds.
And then he becomes Akali, and then uses the extra reset R to actually go in. I don't know what that's called, the like unpossessed button where you go forward. And was able to get the kill there, so it's looking like this one is all over but the crying right now in terms of the amount of chances DRX have to come back into the game, because we could have seen just a full-on group up over the Rift Herald, but instead we saw, you know, one single player thinking out there, and they're like, okay, we could 2v1 this. Not really, actually. Not when he has that many items.
Yeah, you just, I guess at that point, you're just thinking, like, there's no way that he would have both of those items at 18 minutes into the game.
You know how many times these guys press tab? They should know.
Yeah, I mean, they should. They should know. You should know. And but you know, it's always like an eye test, right? Like, oh, it's the two of us. We're Akali and Diana. We can. He's not going to get away from us. We can probably burst him down before any health comes in. That's the idea, but I think it's just, you know, optimistic thinking at some point, and especially when he is this fed. And now he's got a Kindle Gem. Like, you're never gonna kill that guy. It's not gonna happen.
They keep trying to find these 2v1s or these one-man up skirmishes on the map to try to get some gold back, because if Pyosik is able to get some money and, you know, get a second item online, then he's going to be able to do a lot more in these fights. And then you're hoping that that 5v5 fight that your comp is designed for is still doable. But I think your better option was to group up and look for any objective fight, you know, before the 20-minute mark, especially that second Rift Herald fight. I think was one of their last windows to actually take a fight on somewhat even footing, where before Hanwha are just completely out of control, where your CC can still win you that fight. But now, I mean, even if you have that crazy combo with the Diana, the set, you know, even with Fate's Call and Magnet Storm and all the tools they have, they just survive through it and kill you with their wallets.
Yeah. Eventually, you know, at some point that will come to pass. And DRX were never given an opportunity to have a team fight. It just never even happened in this game because they fell too far behind. So
yeah, if you group and try to look for that team fight without an objective to fight for, then you're losing control of the map. So it's catch-22.
You see that Hanwha Life? They're just looking for somebody to press their buttons on. Pretty much anybody. DRX are grouping up now. As here we go, they're gonna opt into this one. The Haymaker comes through.
See, there's no objective to fight for here, so DRX are like, aha, we'll group for this fight, as Wolf suggested. However, Dudu is just going to sit here and get a turret because Hanwha Esports don't need to come into you. They don't need to fight this, and they have control over the map. So they're just going to get a turret, and DRX is just losing control slowly while they're trying to fight over something that doesn't exist, right? If there was a Baron to fight over right now, you know, and they were not as far behind as they are, maybe, you know, this is the right play, but there's just no objective. So you're grouped up right here, hoping maybe they'll walk into this trap. You know, it's the good old hide on bush meta, but Hanwha Life don't need to. There's no reason for Hanwha Life to actually step in there.
Yeah, they can just wait until maybe somebody on the side of DRX goes over to check the Baron, but it's not going to happen at this point. I think with this comp, like, you have some pretty good Baron damage, but either way, DRX is playing it slowly and securely, trying to move their wards up one at a time. As you mentioned, really the agenda here from Hanwha Life is just trying to let Dudu go in a side lane, get some split pushing going, balloon your lead a little bit more.
It's crazy how Viego has ended up being not a team fight champ as he was used originally here in Korea, but he's become a split push champ, and he's very difficult to kill in lane. He's got great sustain, and every time we see him find success here in the LCK recently, especially this week, you know, today and yesterday, it's just because he's allowed to go around the map and get a bunch of items and he's so difficult to kill, and when you do win the team fight, he's strong, but even if you aren't fighting, if you're not waiting for that poke to connect so you can get those resets, you just go into a side lane, and you can get out so easily because of his kit. Like, he's got a dash, he can go into his mist, and become very difficult to track down. And when you're this far ahead, I mean, he is just going to suck up every single CS on the map that's left available to him, and he's going to threaten all turrets. Like, this is just what he's doing this game. Dude has free reign.
Yeah. How about like just doing the vacuum strat? It's, you know,
good old Kirby.
Yeah, whatever you can find and just, you know, turn on the vacuum. And they're going to be doing that with the objectives here in a moment as well. You know, I feel like Hanwha are so far ahead that they probably could just go in there and smack them with their wallets and you know, press their buttons and win the team fights, but they're respecting them for now.
And they're demonstrating that it's better to, even when they're this far ahead, split up and force fights that way against this composition, force the DRX comp to be split than to 5v5 them because of those wombo combos. And if you do try to collapse onto Dudu with 1 or 2 players, Hanwha have shown so far that with the Nocturne that's so fed, he will be there. And if he has teleport, you have to respect that. If he doesn't have teleport and he's relatively nearby, you have to respect that he can paranoia in. So whenever Dudu's out here this far on the map, it's not even like DRX feels safe to even punish him, because it could just be a collapse coming in at any moment.
Uh-oh. Cal hide on bush as Alistair goes wild. Saw his arm swinging there. But yeah, maybe we're gonna have a play here. Chevy could just press his R button and get in onto Kingen.
Yeah, Deft has his killer instinct, but there's a turret here. They don't have full vision of that northern part where they actually just ping that there's a ward. They're like, we don't have any idea what's going on over there. Do not want to overextend. Maybe Pioshik comes down and Moonfalls and situation changes. I actually really like that Hanwha Esports are playing this so much about the map instead of just saying, I think we win, let's just go kill them. Because I think that's the volatility of these two comps comes down to DRX having so much CC and so many ways to actually win a fight even down on items because of that CC, that you're better off just not risking it. And even if it's a 65-70% chance you're going to win the fight and win the game because you're so far ahead, like, why even leave that 30% up to chance when you could just win the map and win no matter what? And when you're a 1-5 team right now in the LCK, you've got to guarantee those wins.
Every win is precious. That is for sure. Chovy picked up his 3rd item, so did Deft, actually. So everybody's kind of getting there, but mainly those two are the most fed on the team. That split push item build from Viego is really annoying for Akali.
Yeah.
I want to see it in action, though. I want to see them actually fight. So far, it's been a lot of just pushing lanes into each other.
Yeah, Wit's End means the end of any sort of contest in the side lane. Side lane battles end is what it could say. So the next objective to fight for here is going to be the Baron. And now that we're this far into the game and the items have come online for Deft, they can actually clear it quite quickly. So Hanwha Esports can control some of that vision as they are right now, and if anyone tries to deny the vision, that's when Paranoia just kills somebody. Dudu still has his teleport. So for the first time, it looks like Hanwha are going to go, okay, we might actually have a 5v5 fight. We're going to have that advantage. They're going to maybe look for the collapse in and we can turn on them. But they want to clear all this vision first. And if one single member decides to go to try to clear a ward, that could be the end of them with this comp. You just instantly delete them.
Yeah, I mean, DRX are playing it really safely. They're really not overstepping their boundaries. They're almost saying, like, oh, if you want to do Baron, just do it. Like, it's fine, We can't really do anything about it. We're going to push Becca away, and maybe that will be the trigger for Hanwha to go on to this objective.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the wards that have to be closed in on. And even if you don't do the Baron, the threat of the Baron alone means that DRX have to respond eventually.
They're doing
actually,
it
look,
over there.
Deft has started it.
Deft and Dudu.
Yep.
The duo.
And if anybody comes through, like, Dudu has so much sustain, he's totally fine. Deft can kill her instinct over the wall, so, I mean, this is the safest play I think I've seen in a very long time from Hanwha Esports.
This is clean.
It's like SK Telecom, let's go back to the old days, no chance of defeat. It's a bit resident sleeper if you're watching at home and you're hoping for a team fight here, but at least we got all the action over in the first 20 minutes of the game.
All right, maybe they're going to catch Vista here. No, he had a splash. We're
that's
just going to
Moonfall.
paranoia just to keep them away.
Yep. Moonfall used there, just not able to lock him down, which means that that's not going to be up. Actually, it might just be up right before this objective fight. We'll see what time they decide to fight it on, but either way, I mean, DRX have to make a stand at some point, otherwise they just slowly lose the game. Trying to get a few more items online. They have 2 Zonias for their Akali and their Diana here, so King and Pyoshik can...
Everybody's got a stopwatch.
Yeah,
So,
like, this is the way you win this fight, right?
wait, there's 9 Zonia's actives on the map right now. Nobody's used it because nobody's fought for the last 5 minutes. As, yeah, I don't know about this one. Solkay's going to try. That is a really nice haymaker and a lot of damage onto Dudu. But not going to amount to much. So Stomper is down. We can get a TP back here from Dudu. As could Solka if he wanted to.
Pyoshik just barely going to have that Moonfall I was talking about online here for the straight contest. Deft is in the mid lane. This is your chance, DRX. You have to go for this.
All right, let's see it. Trying to get on top now of Arthur as the teleports are coming in, and here come the Zonias. Just wait, as we're gonna have them all be procced here at the end. Vista getting super low, as eventually the damage is just way too much. This was probably DRX's best chance, but it was not going to work out in the end anyway, as that is going to be a big team fight win in Hanwha Life. 15,000 gold up, I should say. They will try to push and at least take an inhibitor.
Yep. I mean, I'm trying to calculate this. I don't think they can defend because Solka's not up for 30 seconds here.
Oh, they're
insane
going for
wave
it.
clear. Like, I think that's just going to be the game.
Yeah.
I mean, they have Baron buff minions here for 40 more seconds. Like, good luck, DRX. the Q for Pyoshik in that engage didn't even connect. It was great pulverize coming through from Vista, who is, I mean, there's almost a case to give Vista player of the game.
Oh no. Wait, why are you going in? All right, well, we're gonna try to boost Hanwha Life's stats a little bit more towards the end of that game. 30 minutes of absolute domination.